Yo, what is up guys, welcome back to my channel Gaming World, and in today's video I'm gonna be showing you guys all the uses of the scrap metal and how much scrap metal you need to do everything you can do with it. So let's get straight into it. Alright, so before we start, please make sure to hit the like and subscribe button, guys. Please do it because I will really appreciate it and it helps me a lot. And now let's get started. Alright, so there is only one material that requires the scrap metal to craft, and that is right behind me in the dragon dojo. So let me show you that. So here's the dragon hunter NPC. You can talk to him and click on the craft option, guys, and there you'll get an option to craft the volcanic magnet, and the volcanic magnet requires 10 scrap metals to craft. So that is the only material that needs scrap metal to craft, and that's it for the materials. Now let's move on to the guns that need scrap metal for upgrading. Okay, so there are 4 guns in the whole game which require scrap metals for upgrading. So the first one is dual flintlock, and that gun requires 10 scrap metals for upgrading. The second gun is the refined slingshot, and this gun also requires 10 scrap metals for upgrading. The third gun is magma blaster, and just like the last 2 guns, this gun also requires 10 scrap metals for upgrading. And the final gun is venom bow, and this gun also requires 10 scrap metals for upgrading. So every single gun requires 10 scrap metals for upgrading. Okay, so now let's move on to the swords that need scrap metals for upgrading. So there are a total of 21 swords that need scrap metal for upgrading, with the first one being Bicento, and the Bicento sword requires 15 scrap metals for upgrading. Next up we have the cursed dual katana, and this sword requires 60 scrap metals for upgrading. Next up we have dog dagger, which requires 10 scrap metals for upgrading, followed by dragon heart, which requires 15 scrap metals for upgrading, and then we have dual headed blade, which requires 10 scrap metals for upgrading. And then we have the flail, which requires 15 scrap metals for upgrading. And then we have this fox lamp, which requires 15 scrap metals for upgrading. And then the gravity blade, which requires 10 scrap metals for upgrading. And then the hollow scythe, which requires 25 scrap metals for upgrading, followed by the coco, which requires 15 scrap metals for upgrading. Then we have the long sword, which requires 10 scrap metals for upgrading. And then the midnight blade, which requires 15 scrap metals for upgrading. The pipe requires 10 scrap metals for upgrading, and the pole first form requires 20 scrap metals for upgrading, followed by the pole second form, which requires 12 scrap metals for upgrading. And then we have the Rengoku, which requires 15 scrap metals for upgrading. Then the saber, which requires 10 scrap metals for upgrading. And then the shark anchor, which requires 50 scrap metals for upgrading. And then the spiky trident, which requires 25 scrap metals for upgrading. Then the trident, which requires 20 scrap metals for upgrading. Then lastly the triple katana, which requires 15 scrap metals for upgrading. And that's pretty much it for today's video, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed. Please make sure to like and subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next video. Till then, take care and bye.